Good. And we're going to see a few things. Now we'll look at this. Okay, can you see this document? Okay. Yep. So this is what we call a risk assessment. This is a placement risk assessment. And this gives us all the information about the schools you're going to go to. And this document is 11 pages, and we look and we read and we research about the school, and we look at different things. So first of all, we look at health, safety, security, and we make a list of things and we say yes or no. So, you know, do we think that the placement at the school is aware of your security, of your health, of your welfare? Do we think that the hosts understand that you need some kind of introduction? Yeah. Will the school allow me or one of my colleagues to come and visit? So all these different things must be yes, 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 yes. Okay. We then go on. All right. Does the host have the New Ventures Worldwide emergency contact details? Well, of course, they have my telephone number. Okay. Are there medical facilities nearby? Well, yes, in all cases. So we would then say, well, yep, you know, this is a green. We've got the yes next to the green part, meaning there's no problems. We then go on to talk about the things you'll be doing. Is there a risk? Will you be working long hours? Is there anything which is dangerous? Normally, obviously, it's a school. And so at a school, there's nothing dangerous, is there? Okay. Right. We then talk about accidents, incidents, medical treatment. We know that in all your placements, there's a hospital nearby, there are doctors locally, and also that there's, you know, defibrillating machines and a first aid kit. So no problem there. Equipment, will you be using any machinery? What is the electricity, the electrical fittings and installation like? Well, of course, they're schools, so no problem. Do you need any protective equipment? No. Is there a plan in case of fires? Yes. Okay. Are there toilets? Yes. Okay. Then we talk about the accommodation. Is there any kind of problem there? Will the volunteer be cooking outside? No, not in Spain. So then we have all these things and we make an assessment. Okay, 10 standards, 10 are met. That means if there's any problem, well, we won't have a problem. It means the next part, because everything is green, we can then look at the different kinds of let's say, solutions if there were a problem. But there are no solutions at all. Sorry, there are no problems at all. So in your case, when we look at risk, there's no risk at a school. There's no risk in being at a school. Let's say there's no more risk than, you know, being at a school in your country or going to any other kind of public building like a library or a sports center. In fact, there's even less. So we say there are no specific risks. However, when you come, you're a young person, you might be very mature, but you will still come across situations and risks which are not in your control, which are not under your control. And you need to learn how to cope, how to manage, and how to resolve situations which are risky. Okay? So on all our risk assessments, it's green, with one exception, the evacuation process. The evacuation process just depends. You know, it depends on transport, it depends on your health, it depends on the weather. So we cannot say it's green. We don't know. Okay? But you will not be in any place or situation where evacuation will be difficult, because there is public transport and taxis and private cars nearby. And all of you will be a maximum 4 hours from the nearest airport, and probably 1 hour from the nearest airport in most cases. Okay, so absolutely fine, no problem there. When COVID came and people had to be evacuated, it was done very easily, very quickly. It was not cheap, because suddenly those people who wanted to go back to New Zealand, they said, well, I need a ticket. How much? $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. That was the only ticket available. So those people who went paid a lot of money. The people who stayed waited, and then they went back. Okay, so here we are. It's, you know, we need to evaluate risk. We need to evaluate risks. And the first thing is identify the risk and be aware. Okay? We think this thing called the principle of the crocodile. Evaluate the risk. Can you see that? You see the man is looking in the crocodile's mouth. Actually, you probably don't have to look in the crocodile's mouth to know there is a risk. In fact, by looking so closely, you are increasing the risk. So one of the important things to do is to separate yourself from the risk. Okay, and I think we could probably imagine a situation, maybe we went to a festival. If we go to a festival, and if some people were maybe, you know, smoking a lot of drugs, you don't have to say, oh, that's a risk. You know instinctively that it's a risk. You've identified it. And in the moment that you identify this risk, you say, is this going to have an effect on me? So you evaluate the risk. And you think, well, no, I feel very comfortable because these people seem to be very peaceful. In fact, they seem to be joking and speaking, and they're sitting around. Maybe, I don't know, they're smoking marijuana. But imagine they were all taking some kind of very active drug like ecstasy or cocaine. Maybe you would say, well, because they seem to be becoming, or a lot of alcohol, they're becoming very aggressive to each other. Well, what can I do? The probability, if I stay here, the probability, because they're being so aggressive, is that maybe by accident, one of them will elbow me or push me. And therefore, what should I do? Well, I can protect myself by doing this or this. Yeah, of course I can. But there are other ways to protect myself. I can eliminate the risk. Okay? So evaluate the risk and then eliminate the risk. And the easiest way to eliminate risk is, well, removing the risk. Not really. You couldn't tell all these people who are taking cocaine, would you go, please, somewhere else? I don't think that even, what are you talking about? Or you can remove yourself. That means you go somewhere else. That's one of the easiest things to do, isn't it? Remove yourself. So, instinctively, if you are on a bus, on the metro, for example, in Bilbao or in Madrid or in Valencia, with your backpack, and you saw two people who were maybe coming very close to you and were looking at your stuff and maybe looking at your telephone, and they were too close. The easiest way, if you have evaluated that risk is increasing, that it's more probable, the easiest thing to do is, one, protect yourself, look at your bag, close the zips, put your telephone in the pocket, take off your headphones and keep your bag like this. And then you go and stand or sit in a place away from these people. There you go. So those are ways to remember, always to eliminate the risk. And don't ever be scared of saying, oh, you know, you're too cautious, you're too nervous, don't worry. If something looks like a risk, if it feels like a risk, then it's a risk to you. Maybe not physical, but you need to be comfortable. You need to be comfortable in yourself. So don't worry if you are cautious. This is a good thing. All right. Okay, let's look really. In the country, in Spain, what are the risks? Please, in the chat box, please. Are there any specific risks in Spain, which, you know, you wouldn't have these kind of risks in Germany, for example? Can you think? Or in Sri Lanka, of course. Any specific risks which are particular to Spain? If you can think of anything, please write it in the chat box. Any particular risks in Spain which you might not have in Germany? Anybody? I can think of one. The last 2 years at least. Any ideas? Go on. No. Well, extreme heat. The last 2 years, we've had some extreme weather in Spain. Okay, and what can you do with that risk? What can you do? Can anybody tell me? How can you have less risk? Think about it. Oh, sorry, there's a message there. Stay at home, absolutely. The Spanish people in the summer, they will stay at home from about 2 o'clock until about 7 or 8 o'clock even. They might spend 4 or 5 hours at home because it is so hot. Not during the time that you're going to be here from September until June, not normally. But there we go. We can reduce the risk by staying at home. What else should you do if it's very, very hot? They enjoy that time with their family, of course, thank you. But what else can you do if it's very, very hot? How can you reduce the risk? Yeah, there we go. So drink water. Yeah. Anything else? Take a bath. Well, all right, yeah. To keep cool, maybe you could have a shower, yeah. Yeah. And then, right, think about spend more time in the shadow, absolutely. So walk in the shade if you must be out, yeah. And of course, you have to think about your clothes, yeah. Right. What about the particular towns that you're going to? The particular towns that you are going to? Yep, then wear the right color. So Lena, so you're coming down here, of course, to El Eliana. Nelly, you're going off to Zamora. Sara, you're going to be in Vitoria. Tammy, you're going to be in Guadalajara. And yes, you're in Leliana as well. Are there any specific risks about the places you're going to be? Wild animals, tigers, or monkeys running around? Can you think? There are no specific things except maybe um, okay, Sarah. Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? You're quite right. Okay, so um, road use, let's say, which could be bicycles, and it is really important. So, Sarah, in Victoria, literally everybody is on a bike or on a scooter. And that means you have to be really, really careful when you're crossing the road. So if you come from a place where people don't normally use cycle lanes, you have to look off, you know? So quite right, yeah, yeah. And then the local festival, which can either be very noisy or they can be at certain times of days. If you don't understand, because nobody's told you, well, they can be quite surprising, definitely. Within the community, any kind of risks? That's it. Yes, yes. It. For example, Liliana, they use fireworks all over Valencia. What about within the community? You'd probably have to be. You'd have to think about um, social customs. Okay. At school, any kind of risks? It's definitely a risk, actually. Yeah, because you're working with children. So what kind of risks are there working with children? Okay, you have to be good because children will copy you. Any other risks with children? I would say you have to be very careful about what you say. The posts on social media, you have to be really conscious from now because people will find you on social media. They will see the things that you see. All right. Okay. At home, what kind of risks? Well, what kind of risks are there? Okay. So, at your home, you know that the toilet, for example, flushes like this, or you pull a chain. You don't know. Maybe it's different when you come to Spain. Maybe it's different at their home. You have a button. That's nice. But, we had a volunteer who had a shower and realized everybody else had gone out of the house. She didn't know how to turn the shower off. She could not turn it off. She just didn't know how. Every time she thought it was turning off, it would then increase again. She had absolutely no idea. And it was very simple in the end, of course. Okay. Natural surroundings, I can tell you there are none, obviously. If there's a beach or water, maybe. Family, okay. Understanding families, understanding the family. And like you said, and you were very good, you spoke about what happens, if there were a divorced family and if you are in the middle. So that's important. Children, much the same as the ones at school. Transport, any risks on Spanish transport? None. Spanish Sun is very safe, but there is one actually. Yeah. Which is pickpockets. Okay. So people who might want to steal your bag, your telephone, your money, your passport. Obviously, these people go to places where people are traveling. Okay. So you have to be very careful on the metro, other places. You have to be very careful, especially when you go and somebody says, can I help you? In the airport, on the metro, on a bus, can I help you? Where are you going? You really have to evaluate this person. Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a low risk a habit in Spain. If you ever have to get a taxi in Spain, the taxi drivers, sometimes they will start speaking to you. And when they realize that you do not know the city you're in, they will take you on a very long route and charge you a lot more. And so the more they speak to you, it's better just to be quiet in taxis. Okay. What about in social situations? What kind of risks are there? What's the biggest risk? Number one risk. The number one risk in Spain for young people, especially. Hello, Alexis. What do you think then? What's the number one risk? I didn't hear you. Somebody said something. What is the biggest risk?
I would say misunderstanding because of the language.
Okay, yeah, I think it could be. Hopefully, those misunderstandings will be minor. You say, would you like would you like a flan? A flan. Hello. Hello, Alexis. He says, would you like a flan? And he said, well, all right. And maybe in England, if you had a flan, maybe you would be expecting something which was made of cheese or eggs or a little cake, a little pie. And yet in Spain, a flan is a creme caramel, which is a dessert, almost like a kind of sweet yogurt. Okay. So it's different. You know, I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, hopefully the risks of the misunderstanding in family, in social situations will be little things like this. Okay. For example, if you asked for a coffee, you would ask for a cortado, a small coffee. If you wanted a little beer, you would ask for a corto. So imagine you think, oh yeah, I'd like a coffee. Please give me a corto. And instead of giving you a cup of coffee, they give you a beer. Well, there's not much risk. The only risk is actually the misunderstanding itself. Okay, but definitely in some other social situations, yes, misunderstandings can lead to risks. And okay, yes, it says drugs. Look, if you are not a user of drugs, there's no risk, of course, and nobody will oblige you to take drugs, of course. Nobody will oblige you to take drugs, naturally. But because you are young people, it's absolutely natural that at some point you might experiment with drugs. And like always, if you have never taken marijuana or smoked something like this before, and you decide, well, this is the time and the place that I am going to experiment, as always, you have to protect yourself. You have to make sure that you are in an environment and with people who you know will take care of you and who you are going to feel comfortable with. All right? Really important. So the first time somebody offers you, a joint to smoke, I would say make sure it's people you know and you feel comfortable with. Because if you don't, they might just give it to you and off you go. It's not actually drugs, because I think taking drugs is a very conscious decision, of course. The biggest risk is alcohol. Okay? The biggest risk that we will find here is alcohol. Not only if you drink or you don't drink, but also because so many people in Spain drink. As I said yesterday, it's very, very common to have families where they drink wine every day. They never get drunk. You would never see a normal Spanish person drunk. I know, I have seen in other countries, it's perfectly acceptable for people to drink and to drink in the streets, and they walk around with a bottle of beer drinking. That you would never see that in Spain. It doesn't really happen except in the tourist areas. So people in Spain drink a lot of alcohol. They don't necessarily get drunk. It says here 60% of Spanish people say that they go to a cafe, a bar, restaurant at least once a week to enjoy a drink with friends, family, or co-workers. Okay? And so it is an important part of the social and local Mediterranean diet. And very small towns, you will see a lot of very small towns have a lot of bars. And it's not a big deal to go to a bar. People come in and out and go into one place. If you go to Vitoria, if you are in Vitoria or in Bilbao, you will be absolutely amazed. How can they have so many bars? Okay. So there's a real association with the food and alcohol. But Spanish people generally, let me put it this way. If you are in England and you drink and you get drunk and you feel and you say to your friends, oh, yesterday I was drunk, people say, oh dear, how are you feeling today? As Spanish people would normally not tell other people they were drunk, okay? They would be happy or merry or, you know, feeling a little bit kind of more extrovert. And even, you know, they drank a lot, but to actually say that you were drunk, borracho, which is the word, would not be an acceptable thing to say. So don't ever, ever, ever go to school on a Sunday, and if they sat on a Monday, how was your weekend? Don't ever say, I got drunk, ever, because this is absolutely terrible. What sort of person have we got here? Okay, so whether you drink wine or beer or you don't drink at all, it's absolutely fine. And this is something which is very important. There is no pressure on you to drink. If you have drunk before, this is fine. And if you decide this will be the first place that you try alcohol, that is also fine. Do not feel pressurized. Things are changing. Okay? So what do they drink in Spain? Of course, they drink wine. They drink beer. They drink, well, look, they drink wine. What do you mean? What do you think this is? They have a special drink, wine and Coca-Cola together. What's that called? Any ideas? Have you ever heard of this? Calimocho, all right? It's called calimocho. And some young people drink this. So they mix red wine with Coca-Cola. I've never tried it, so I don't know what it tastes like, but they seem to like it. Okay. Beer. Well, Spanish, it's very hot and people drink beer. They're not big, maybe smaller bottles. Okay, there's another one which people drink, a tinto de verano, which again is wine which is mixed with soda. Okay. Or sangria, which is also based on wine. Be very careful with drinks like sangria, with these things which don't taste like alcohol, but they sometimes, if you drink a lot, obviously you'd get drunk. Spirits, whiskey, gin, whatever. But if you go to a bar or a cafe or you're in a social gathering, there is absolutely no problem if you say, no, I will have a zero beer. I'll have a beer with no alcohol. Or I will drink water. Or soft drinks like Coca-Cola or Fanta or things like this. Or juice, orange juice and so on. Okay? So even if you are with a group of people, don't feel you're very boring, you're this. Don't worry. If you just don't like alcohol, you don't want to, there's no problem at all. Okay. There are some habits. We have this thing, they drink water with gas. Yep. Okay. Which is a very refreshing thing, of course. But we have the thing, a botellón. Let me tell you, this is a botella, which is a bottle, okay? plastic bottle. There's a botella. A botellón, so when we add on to the end of a word, it means it's something which is very big. If we add ito, like, or ita, ito, or ita to a word, it's something which is very small. How can we say that? So if we said, here we are, a botellón, that would be a big bottle. If we said a botellita, which doesn't really exist, that would mean a little one, okay, a little bottle. Okay, so a botellón, which literally means big bottle, refers really to drinking parties where young people get together. They bring their own alcohol, lots and lots of alcohol, and they spend 3, 4, 5, 6 hours having a rave with music, with their friends in the on the beach, in the park, a bit like kind of New Year's Eve, but they could do it any time. Okay, they could do it any day. Well, normally weekends, right? It's actually illegal to drink alcohol in the street. But if there's a fiesta, if there's some kind of celebration and people are saying it's the botellón, they will be drinking in the street. And that has got its risks, that you could be cautioned by the police and they could fine you. You would have to pay money if they catch you drinking alcohol in the street. Second one, of course, where hundreds or thousands of young people are together drinking, there is a greater possibility of violence. You know this. And you would identify this risk. And if you saw violence, you would remove yourself. I know you would. Okay. But there's also things like, well, 2 more things. Well, if people are using glass bottles and they get broken and they're on the street, the more you drink, the less you notice and you could cut yourself. And another big problem, another big risk with the botellón is that when people take the alcohol in bottles, sometimes it's really bad quality, okay? And it can be bad for your health, right? And of course, you can catch kind of infections through sharing bottles with other people. Okay, then. So is it good or bad to have the botellón? It's not good, okay? If you are invited to botellón, what you have to understand is this. At some point where you are staying in Vitoria, in Bilbao, in Zamora, in Palencia. Palencia has got its festival right now, this week, okay? And there will be botellón, but for some days in the year, it's actually legal because it is the festival of the town or city. And you'll see this and you think, God, this is a bit too much. But it's everybody's there drinking in the streets, okay, like a festival. Okay, and the next thing is the peer pressure. Beware of peer pressure. Do not, and we said this before, you're old enough, you're responsible enough. If you don't want to drink, just remember, it's a question of risk. Less risks, less alcohol, less risk. Okay. What happened? You know what? Well, alcohol-related problems that we've had with volunteers. I'll tell you 2. All right, really happened. One day, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was in bed and I got a telephone call from one of our volunteers. And our volunteer was in Mallorca with the other volunteers. They said, we're going to Mallorca for a weekend. So that's great. So 2 o'clock in the morning, he calls me and says, I've got a big problem. I've lost my credit card. And I say, well, right. So, you know, what you have to do is to call and cancel your credit card. And the following day, he calls me and says, hey, you know, I didn't lose my credit card. I went to a cash machine, a bank machine, put it in, took my money, and then forgot. I forgot to take my card. I said, well, so you didn't actually lose your card, you forgot your card. All right. I thought, well, you know, this was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and you were just going for a walk, or you had been to a few clubs and you had drank quite a lot of alcohol, right? Yes. Okay. So there we go. That was one of them. There was a risk. Yes. Yeah. He did lose his debit card. Wow. The risk was his. I mean, he created this risk by taking the wrong decision. And the wrong decision was waiting until you're drunk before you go and get some money from the bank. Maybe you should have done that before. There were no consequences. The other one, alcohol-related risk, was potentially a much bigger problem. So we have a volunteer who meets some people and goes to a club and has a good time. And she's having a drink with some people, and there are about 5 or 6 of them, and they said to her, shall we have another drink? And she says, yes, let's have another drink. And they had all been contributing. Every time they bought a round of drinks, they would pay for their own. And she said, okay, let's all have a drink. She said, I'm just going to the bathroom. When she came back, the people she'd met had left, and they had taken their drinks with them. They had left one for her on the bar. And the barman, the bar staff, said, oh, they said, you're paying. And she said, what? And she said, yeah, you're with the group. They left. You have to pay for their 6 drinks and your drink. So it was about 40 euros. Yeah, she wasn't very happy. She didn't even know these people. So that's a risk as well. Okay, this is a bigger one, spiked drinks. Do you understand this? Have you ever heard of this, spiked drinks? So a spiked drink is when you're somewhere, you might be drinking alcohol, you might not be drinking alcohol, but somebody else decides to put some substance in your drink where drugs or alcohol are added to your drink where you don't know, and suddenly you're very drunk or unconscious because this substance, this drug, has been added with the intention of confusing you. And therefore you become victim to a situation where you are extremely vulnerable, right? So you have to be very, very careful, and you have to be very careful, especially at night, when somebody offers you a drink, if you feel comfortable accepting and knowing where that drink has come from, okay? And this is especially true when the situations in the situations where there's a lot of drink, okay, a lot of alcohol. right? So you don't want to become a victim. And we talk about a victim of sexual assault or violence or robbery or anything like this, okay? Please do not accept this as a risk. If you want risk, go and climb a mountain or go surfing. That's absolutely fine. But not this. Okay. Let's have a look. I'm going to show you a little video. I'm going to show you a little video. Let's see if we can do this. If I can open it for you. Okay, there's our. Okay, let's watch this. I want you to see this, and you tell me afterwards what you think. Okay. Go. Okay. Okay. Sorry, just a moment there. Let's see if we can watch this. I have to stop the recording for the moment. Okay. Sorry. Welcome, welcome, Sarah. Thank you for coming in. Okay, so having seen, let me just ask you, as people, have you, any of you, ever seen a situation like this? I don't want to know if you were involved. That's your personal business. But have you seen a situation which is like this any time? Anybody? No? No? Okay, good. I'm glad. And possibly it's something which you've never seen because you have always been aware. But we have to be careful because you are, because of your age, and because there are certain social customs which you will not be used to, that it's possible that this kind of risk can happen. And if we look at those things, there were different risks, weren't there? Because, of course, the first person at risk was the young woman. But then the other people who were looking, who were watching, there were two risks. The first risk was that man, the man who really got involved and tried to close the door with his sweater. Well, he was putting himself at risk. So you'd have to make sure that in a situation, anything like this, you are not increasing your risk. And so what would you do? I think probably the best solution would be to speak to the young woman. Well, sorry, Sarah, what do you think? Tell us.
I don't know if this is an international thing, but we have it like in Germany and nearby in every bar you can ask the staff, where is my friend Lisa? I guess it's the code word, and then everybody knows, or I'm waiting for my friend Lisa, and everybody knows, okay, you are in trouble, and they are going to help you, but not in a offensive way, so they are really discreet, and then they solve it like you are getting yourself into more danger. I don't know if I need to check up. It's always on the toilets in Germany, and I also saw it in other countries. Maybe it's something there is also in Spain. Maybe we need to inform about this. I think this is a really important um, thing to know.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think that in bars and pubs and discotheques and clubs, you will find that there is increasingly there's more information about things to do if you find yourself in this kind of situation. That's a very good thing. And you should be able to network amongst yourselves with your WhatsApp group, which I hope you will create a different WhatsApp group to include me or not to include me so that you can network. And maybe you should have some kind of code word to specify if you feel that you are in danger. Okay, so that you can let other people know that you need help. You are welcome always 24 hours a day to contact me if you are in a difficult situation. Difficult situations tend to be, I've lost my telephone, I've lost my bank card, I've missed the bus or the train, okay? And risk increases at night. Okay, for many reasons. Yes, what were you going to say?
Oh no, I have seen this in America. Normally in bars, sometimes around the world, this specific word is kind of a serious code name for danger. I think you have also heard that it is angel shot with ice. So
What?
this is kind of famous. Angel shot with ice.
Angel shot
Right?
with
With
ice.
ice.
Maybe you write it down. Angel shot with ice. I've
Yeah.
never heard this. I've
No?
never heard this.
Oh,
No. Okay.
but yeah, this is then the bartender knows, okay, something's going wrong somewhere, and he'll first put his guards in the bar if they are available to check around, or else the police will be coming to the bar and searching for evidence or anything like that.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing that there are ways, and one of the advantages always of having your telephone with you is that you can ask for help. Okay, at many places in festivals in cities, festivals where there are lots of young people, there will normally be a safe place as well, so that if you felt that you were being harassed or in some way being molested, you would be able to go. Okay, a specific place. Okay, even at festivals, even where people are taking drugs, there are sometimes posts or places where they will offer the hospital, or there will be somebody, a scientist, who will offer to analyze the drugs that you're taking to make sure that they are not some strange substance. Obviously, all drugs are strange substances, but they will tell you if it's safe or if it has been mixed with some other kind of drug, which is even more dangerous. Okay, so they will do those kind of analysis for you. So you always have to be safe. And one of the first ways, the easiest ways, of course, is to let other people know where you are. Okay, let other people know where you are, where you're going. Can I tell you another story? Can I tell you another story? One of our volunteers once, one of the volunteers said to her host family that she wasn't going to be staying at home that night. Okay, for a Spanish family, this would be a very, very strange thing. And they would say, okay, so you're in the same city, but you're not going to be you're not sleeping at home. Where are you sleeping? And she said, well, it was summer. She said, I'm going to sleep in the park. Okay, now, apparently in her country, at certain times of year, when young people got together, they would sleep in the park at night together. And this was quite normal, with a guitar and some food and some drink. This in Spain is absolutely unheard of. What do you mean you're going to sleep in a park? Nobody sleeps in a park in Spain unless you are a homeless person. Okay, well, it wasn't actually true. She wasn't going to sleep in a park. She had met somebody and she and they had decided to spend the night together. End of story. But the fact that she did not feel able to tell them, which is quite respectable, it's her private life. But you have to think about what you're going to say, but definitely don't ever say you're going to sleep in a park. All right. Okay, so here are some situations. Here are you're out with a friend. She's having a great time and has drunk a lot. No, I'll tell you what, you're out with a friend. We're going to say they are having, so not she. And they are going somewhere alone with someone they have just met. So we're not going to say it's got to be a woman. Okay, someone they have just met. Think about it. What would you do? Would you do anything? Would you do anything? Okay, I'm going to put you into little rooms now. I'm going to ask you, even with Sarah as well, if you don't mind, going into one of our breakout rooms and just speak for a couple of minutes. What would you do? So you're out with a friend at a club somewhere. Your friend has drunk a lot. And then somebody says, well, I'm going off with this person. Yeah, I really like him or her. And yeah, I'm going. Bye. See you tomorrow. Okay. What would you do? Would you do nothing? Would you do something? What would you do? It's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, just speak for a few minutes about that particular case. What would you do? And it's absolutely fine that I wouldn't do anything because it's not my business. Is it fine to say that? Okay, off you go into your rooms.
Hey, Josh. Is
Hi,
it just
Sam.
my internet connection were broken but I hope it's fine now.
Okie doke. Thank you for coming. Okay, that's great. I'm just going to put you in one of the breakout rooms to speak for a moment, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's close the rooms now and come back and tell me. Okay, Lena and Sarah and Tammy, you're back with me. I can see that Alexis and Nelly, yes, they had a slightly longer conversation. Okay, so in room 2, in the second room, Lena, what's the general agreement? What would you do? What should you do in this situation, do you think?
In our group, we all agreed that we wouldn't leave the person alone, especially if the person has already had a lot of drinks or yeah.
Okay, but with somebody who's been drinking, might be some quite insistent. Hey, go away! I'm having a good time. Go home. Alexis, what would you do here? Do you have a mic today? Okay, Nelly, what would you do in this situation?
So my group agreed that we wouldn't let our friend go, but if we couldn't prevent it, we would ask her or him to send us the location where he is, for example, via WhatsApp.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. But what you have to remember, and I will say this, that sometimes we want to prevent risks, okay? That we want to prevent risks. And so maybe one of the things that you have to get used to doing is not in the situation where the risk is already present, but maybe it's a question of before. So it's preventing risk. So it's agreeing with your friends when you go out. If something happens, what should we do? Okay. So before that, should we activate, like a kind of buddy thing with 2 people, just saying, okay, I'm going to share my location with you all night until tomorrow morning. All right. Until we get home. Okay, on your WhatsApp, you have a location service or other things so that well, I don't know, I might just go home. But actually, if I do decide to drink or stay out late, at least I have shared my location service with somebody else within my group. Okay, absolutely. Hopefully you'd make them see sense that, you'd stay with them. Fair enough. Okay, what about case B then? What would you do? You meet some really fun people at a cafe and they invite you first to go onto a club with them. And then they say, yeah, come to our house because we're having a big party tonight, at 3 o'clock in the morning. Come back to our place. Would you go or would you not? Would you go or would you not? What do you think, Tammy? Would you go with these people or would you go home?
I would go home until I don't know them.
Yeah. What about Lena? What would you do? Would you go home or go on to the party?
I would also go home.
Yeah, okay. And sometimes, absolutely, you're avoiding risk, and it's a very simple thing to say. Of course, you're avoiding risk. Why? Because you met these people in a situation, well, where there's a lot of alcohol and so on. Maybe if you had met these people somewhere else, and got to know them in a different way, then maybe when they did say we're having a party, you would say, okay, yes, because I have met you in a more reasonable or a calmer situation. Absolutely. Good. Okay. There you go, Tammy. That's a good one, isn't it? That's a good one. They ask if somebody else could come with you. Absolutely. There you go, Alexis. So asking sharing location. Good, good. Yes, it said, well, that's a hard decision. Well, yes, it's already been here for a few months and he's seen all these parties going on in a very nice place where he lives and where Lena is going to live, where there would be it's a very low risk if people at a social gathering said, come back to our place, because in that residential area, people do go. I could also say the same thing for where, oh, Clara's not here today. Where Clara's going, it would be a similar situation. Okay. Yes, it.
Sorry to interrupt, but I want to tell here, Liliana, it's quite okay. It means like the risk is low. I have been out in the night and it's super good. And people here always try to help you in a way you are comfortable, not like always trying to force the things, but they'll be like, okay, is it okay if I help you? Then they'll go for help. It's community is good. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're living in a very stable community, absolutely. But if you're in the middle of Bilbao, middle of Valencia, maybe it's a weekend when you have decided to meet other volunteers and you do not have the security of your normal host community, then the situation changes. Okay? And the situation can change. All right, then. Okay, and Alexis said, yeah, I would go home unless I was also in Valladolid. Well, in a fantastic place, big nightlife in Valladolid. Okay, big nightlife out there. Okay, yeah. Spanish people generally are very trustworthy. Okay, and the people you will meet in Spain are very trustworthy. Okay. But like they say sometimes, what you see is what you get. Okay. When something feels wrong, it's often a good idea to trust your instincts. Okay. When something feels wrong, trust your instincts. If it feels wrong, there's probably something wrong. Okay, you're lost. KC, you've drunk too much, maybe for the first time. You have lost your phone. One of our volunteers came to a social gathering and she had never drunk champagne before. Champagne in Spain is sometimes called cava, which is a little bit cheaper than champagne. Because it's cheaper, you can actually drink a little more. And she said, she said, oh, thank you very much. And she had a glass and had another glass. Said, well, it's very nice and cold. Tastes like Sprite, like 7-Up. Not quite as sweet. Anyway, after the third glass, she fell over. Okay, just fell over. Nobody knew what happened to her, what was the problem. But she'd never drunk alcohol before, and suddenly 3 glasses of champagne. So you can drink too much without knowing. But there we are. Casey, you're lost. You've drunk too much. You have lost your phone. You're in a city. Where do you go? Where should you go, do you think? Where should you go? What should you do? Give me some ideas, please. If you can find a police station, go to a police station. Okay. That's a good idea. Alexis, what other places? Come on, guys, you got to know these are important things. You won't always find a police station, especially if you're lost and you don't have your phone. Into a bar where you can find a phone. What kind of bar? Not a nightclub. Good. Yes, it. Thank you. Okay, what kind of bar? I will tell you. Not too sure. Well, I'll tell you what, I would, if I were you, I would go to the biggest, most expensive looking bar. A restaurant, perfect. A hotel. Okay. Something, hotel receptions tend to be open 24 hours a day. All right. And if you are a young, especially if you're a young woman who is obviously not speaking, does not speak Spanish very well, they would understand that you're not there to have a drink, you know, and I'm sure they would let you sit there. But definitely, if it were a restaurant, if it were a hotel, the police station, let me see. Yes, I think anything like that, even a McDonald's or a Burger King, if you see it's open 24 hours a day, you are better inside than outside. Okay? In a last resort, maybe a station or a bus station. So try to think of that. And who should you call? Who should your first telephone call be to? Your host family. Yeah, your host, but not your family back in Sri Lanka. All right. They say, yes, we're very sorry, but we can't help you from here. Yeah, but imagine you're really drunk. You're really drunk. And you know, oh gosh, I'm going to feel so ashamed if they see me like this. Well, maybe one of the other volunteers to let them know you are safe, to let them know where you are. Okay? And secondly, I would say, call me. Yes. I will not judge you. I won't be happy if you call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I will not judge you. Okay? And say that you are wrong. And I will give you advice about where to go or what to do, or somebody who could come and look after you. That's anywhere in Spain, okay? We have many people around Spain who would be happy to help you. Okay? And I will make sure that your host family know that you are safe. Okay. So that's good. Lovely. Okay, now in Spain, we actually have, if you do get into any kind of major difficulties, we have 3 telephone numbers. Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. I'm just going to introduce you to somebody. 1 second. Okay. Okay. I guess you can hear me now. Still? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. Okay. But I'm just going to tell you here, there are 3 telephone numbers which you can use in Spain. One for gender or sexual violence, which is 016. The second one is for the police, 112, or medical problems, 061. Okay. I will send you these on another slide as well, another document. I just want to introduce you to somebody. All right. So just a second. Hello, Greta. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Right, good. Thank you for coming.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. I just wanted to introduce. Well, I'm a ghost now, so you can't see me. Okay.
So,
Can we both be? Yeah, we can both be, right?
there you
Ah,
go. Yeah.
yeah, this way it works.
All right. So this is Greta. Greta, where are you from?
I'm from Germany. I'm from Berlin, and I've been living now, 1 year in Valencia in Spain. And I got asked if I could join shortly to say hi to you guys and to explain you how it is to live here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, like where you get German food or bread or whatever kind of special cheese or that kind of stuff. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Tell us what for a young woman like yourself, what's it like, your first experience living in Spain?
Like the first impression when I arrived was, oh, everything is so warm, and not just like the climate is warm, like people are warm, like people are hugging, they are like greeting you really friendly. They used to say, hey, guapa, ¿cómo estás? Hey, beautiful, how are you? They don't say just, hey, how are you? Like, guten Tag. No, they don't say that, and they don't shake just your hand like in Germany they do. They are really warm, and that's really pleasing and a wonderful actually social experience. I enjoy that a lot.
And what that, I mean, those obviously the people are very welcoming.
Yeah.
And is there anything you don't like? What do you find most difficult?
I would say I fight a lot with the food because I'm vegetarian, almost vegan. I have a gluten allergy, so I have a lot of food difficulties. And like everything is really wonderfully described with allergens. So I can always see I cannot eat this, and this. So I end up eating patatas bravas and salad a lot. And that is like sometimes very limiting for me food-wise. But I'm actually super lucky because in Valencia you have like wonderful restaurants where I get proper food with my special needs as well. So yeah, this is the only thing. Like worst case, I end up eating patatas bravas and salad.
Do you guys all know what patatas bravas are? Have you ever heard of Alexis knows what patatas bravas are? Tell us, what are patatas bravas?
So they are actually like a pommes, but a bigger size of pommes. They're mostly like cube shaped or like a potato cut into 4 or 8 squares. And they are deep fried, so they are really greasy and fantastically tasty. And the bravas actually makes it like a really nice and spicy sauce that is a little bit like, I would almost call it barbecue kind of, but it's actually just roasted pimientos, which are paprika. And it tastes delicious. Like it's a bit like smoky, which is really nice.
Okay. And what would you say? What about the weather? I mean, it can get very hot, can't it?
So pack sun cream and pack sunglasses. You will need sunglasses. Oh, those are patatas bravas. Exactly. Delicious food. Delicious. Even if you eat them every week or every day, delicious. And definitely have a hat to protect you from the sun. Like I'm naturally tanned, quite dark, I would say, for a northern person, but still like I need sunglasses almost every day. And I was sweating constantly in August. I'm very happy this stopped in September. We stopped both sweating, right?
Mm-hmm.
In July also, it was not so hard with the sweating, but heat is definitely something you can expect. And wind as well.
Okay. And so how long did it take you to learn Spanish?
Oh, well, fantastic question. I'll have to say I started with 0 when I arrived, and now I can have a conversation. So sometimes I have to ask for words, but it's really easy to grasp it, and it's so easy that you can just read and spell it as you read it. So I find it the easiest language so far that I had to learn. Like even easier than English is kind of more intuitive. I cannot really express why.
Okay. And do you think that people here help you to learn Spanish? Is it easy to practice Spanish with people?
Oh, yes, it is. Like there are a lot of language exchanges. This is one side. There are like in the evenings, there are organized language exchange where people from Spain would love to learn English or German, and they are very happy to offer you in exchange correcting your Spanish. So that's wonderful. but I also find like people make a big effort to help me to communicate. So I don't find myself lost, and I have to say I found myself lost most times in France. So that was more difficult. But here I felt like more like people are striving to help me to understand, and they really take patiently time to explain me things too.
Thank you. And so when you guys come down to Valencia, obviously Lena and Tammy, you're going to be near Valencia. But when the rest of you come down, maybe you can meet Greta.
I'll be around. What
Yeah.
time are you guys coming?
They're coming in the next couple of weeks. They're coming to Spain, but then everybody's going to different parts of Spain. So just two people are coming to Valencia.
Yeah, Spain is beautiful no matter where you are. Like I've been to some places and it's always wonderful. Beautiful areas. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be here. I'll look forward to get to know you, whoever's coming to Valencia.
Okay. Yes, it's in Valencia already. Okay, so he's very happy that you're here. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have you got any questions for Greta?
I will like so.
Not for the moment. Okay. Must-see places in Spain. Where would you recommend to visit?
Everywhere at the coast is beautiful, so you won't miss that out. But I love the mountains too. So the fantastic part here is you get both. Like there is no natural place where you won't be surprised by nature and how beautiful it is. I love Tarragona. Is the place where actually Gaudi was born, and he got inspired from a lot. I love his architecture and his art. So if you want to see like mountains shaped like Gaudi's art, you'll be surprised what nature actually did. And wherever the mountains hit the sea, you can look on Google Map. It will be fantastic. There's one spot that everybody I know recommends to go is the World Heritage, Alhambra. So that's like one spot where you should not go in summer, so you're just in time to come in winter to visit that place because it's unbearable in summer. So actually right now it's still too hot. But that's something you should try to really see. It's amazing.
Okay. And then, okay, of course,
I'm going to put the question to you, right?
That's a question for me, so I will tell you. All right.
Fantastic. Okay. Lovely to meet you. Hope to see you in person. And yeah, if you have more questions, forward them to me.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much, Greta. That's really nice. Really sweet of you to come in. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
All right. I will get back and finish our meeting. Thank you. Okay, so there's somebody obviously much younger than me who is able to tell you about the experience and is, really enthusiastic. So if you need a role model, then I think that that's the sort of person you need. Okay, let's go back and have a look. We were talking about this, which obviously is very serious, about these numbers you can call. But of course, you can always text me or text through the group, all right? And let me know if you have any kind of problem, okay? Part of your placement is learning how to solve problems as well, okay? So there are little problems like how to use your SIM card, and which you will have to sort out yourself, or if you wanted to join the local library or find somewhere to go swimming, those are things which are small challenges, which I would advise you to try to resolve by yourself with your host family and so on. A little bit like James said on Monday, our ladder of support, okay? So I can definitely help you, and I think other volunteers will be very happy to help you. And they will feel very good. As I said on Tuesday, on Tuesday when we were talking about things to do at school, empowering yourself, how to feel positive. And one of the positive things you can do is help other people. That will make them feel good, and it will make you feel good as well. When somebody says, where can I buy a phone charger? I hope one of the other volunteers will answer you on the WhatsApp group. Okay, so let's think about how we can help each other. For a moment, because we've been speaking so much about Spain this week, we're going to have a little quiz for you. Again, a bit primitive. It's all here. All right, here we go. Question number 1. Unfortunately, all the answers say A. But I want you to imagine it says A, B, C. Okay? A, B, C. Okay. A, B, C. So you choose. Here's the question. You write down number 1, A, B, or C. Which of these stereotypes is true about Spanish people? Is it A, Spanish people are lazy and work very little? B, Spanish people are extremely outgoing and love to party? Or C, most Spanish people are friendly and have a warm personality? What do you think? What's the correct one? Write it down for yourself. A, B, or C? A, B, or C? In the chat room, okay. C. All right. Good. All right, so you've said C, most of you. That's reasonable. Yeah, I'll tell you something though. B, Spanish people are extremely outgoing and extroverted. Yes, but not everybody. And it's fine. And it's fine if you're not extroverted, if you're shy, and if you're a person who likes to reflect on things and prefers a small group of people to talk to, that's absolutely fine. Don't be something you're not. You will always find people like you all over the world, wherever you go. Okay? But definitely. Okay. Yes, it said that people are outgoing and love to party. Okay. What about number 2 then? If you were Spanish, would you rather A, B, or C? Eat less for lunch and have a bigger meal for dinner in the evening? B, eat the same amount of food for lunch and for dinner in the evening? Or C, have bigger meals at lunch and less for dinner in the evening? What do you think? A, B, or C? Alexis says less for lunch and more for dinner. Sarah says less for lunch and more for dinner. Yes, it says less for lunch and more for dinner in the evening. Anybody else? Is it A, B, or C? When do you have the biggest meal? At lunchtime, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or at 9 o'clock in the evening? Tammy says A as well. If you were Spanish. Nelly has been listening. Well done, Nelly. That's right. You have a bigger meal at lunchtime and less for dinner. All right. This can sometimes be difficult for Spanish people when they travel, because they go to different cities thinking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon they can sit down and have a big lunch in a restaurant. Not always the case. Okay, good. So it's C. Well, there we go. Number 3, you meet a friend on your way to school and the 2 kisses are a must. You're going to give them 2 kisses. How would you start? It doesn't matter. Or do you normally kiss the right cheek or the left cheek? Which one do you kiss first, please? A, B, or C? You kiss them on the left cheek or on the left cheek or the right cheek? A, B, or C? Yes, it hasn't counted. He doesn't remember. First, okay, so Alexis and Nelly say first on the left. And Sarah says first on the left. I think it's B. I think it's first on the right, but of course it's your left, isn't it? It's your left and their right. So it doesn't really matter. Okay, it doesn't really matter. And if you don't want to kiss somebody, it doesn't matter either. Okay? It doesn't matter either. Maybe a child would feel, you know, after getting to know you, and the child wants, you know, enjoys a cuddle or, you know, expects this, maybe it would be more difficult for them to understand. I don't think that adults would have a problem with this. Okay, number 4, you trip, you fall in front of a big group of people and you hit your head. Oh dear. And you're so embarrassed. What would you say? Estoy embarazada. Qué miedo o qué vergüenza. Estoy embarazada. Qué miedo o qué vergüenza. What do you think the correct expression would be? Wow, everybody says C. Good. Qué vergüenza. Yeah. Oh, which is like saying, how I'm so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed. Estoy embarazada? No, estoy embarazada means I am pregnant. Okay, so you wouldn't want to say that. But you wouldn't want these people, a big group of people, to know. It's none of their business. That's good. So it's C. And there we are. You're going to cook, number 5. You're going to cook a typical Spanish dish for your friends. What would you prepare? Fajitas, huevos revueltos, or tortilla? Yes, it is coming fast there with tortilla. Tammy says tortilla. Alexis, Sarah, Lena, everybody's been listening. It is the tortilla, the patatas, of course. Right, maybe when we get together face to face, once everybody is here, then we'll be able to maybe stay a weekend somewhere, even if it's a hostel with some cooking facilities, and you could try making a tortilla de patatas. All right, to learn how to do that, we will get an expert in there to teach you. Although all the families will want to teach you to eat Spanish food. Here we go then. And yes, it is a chef, of course. Okay, number 6, you want to have some drinks with your friends. What time do you meet? 12 noon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or 8 or 9 in the evening? When would be the time that you meet friends to have a drink? A couple of beers, or a beer and a glass of wine, or a Coca-Cola? What time would you meet? A, B, or C? All right, Sarah says C, 8 or 9 in the evening. Yep. Anybody else? He says C. Nearly says C. Absolutely. And you know, also depends on the time. Okay, now these days in Valencia and in Alicante and some places, people have started to meet in the afternoons, but normally you would never meet at 4 or 5 p.m. for drinks. That's much too early. Okay, number 7. You don't like the food someone has cooked for you. What would you do? A, let them know you don't like the food and eat something else. B, only eat the bits you like, and there's I couldn't finish the other things which I don't like. Or C, eat it anyway. It's rude to leave food on the plate. A, B, or C? What do you think? Lena, Sarah's a bit crafty. Just eat the bits you like. Okay. Okay. Everybody else says C, eat it anyway. I think maybe Sarah could be, because I eat the bits you like, and then the people will realize I don't like those other vegetables or those fish, you know. And then next time they won't make it for me. Okay. What about number 8? Somebody is speaking very loud, quite loud, and you don't understand what they're saying. What do you do? Run away? Maybe they're angry. B, speak back as loud as you can at them. Yeah. But German, I don't understand you either. Or you remain calm and try to understand what they are saying. Everybody said C. Okay. All right. So not B. C. So people saying C. Yeah, absolutely. Because I tell you what, one thing which is great about Spanish people, they will repeat and they will be patient and they will say it once, twice, 3, 10 times. Okay. Especially, you know, including in public places, in train stations, in shops, in restaurants, in cafes, in bars, on the bus. They will help you, which is a good thing. Okay. Okay. Penultimate one. Okay. You have finished your lunch with friends at a restaurant. Do you finished? You're having lunch with your friends. Do you leave the table and go and do something else immediately? Do you have a coffee for 5 or 10 minutes or leave? Or do you stay at the table, have a cup of coffee and talk to your friends for an hour or 2 hours? Okay, well, I think you guys absolutely, you know how to hang out, don't you? So, of course, you can sit and have a coffee with your friends for at least an hour in a restaurant, after a restaurant, instead of a restaurant, up to you. It's up to you. Okay. And number 10, you have been talking to someone for some time and they won't stop touching you. Remember, my friend is touching all the time, getting so close while you're speaking and grasping your shoulder. You know, you literally cannot get away. What's your reaction? What's your reaction? Annoyed? Stay back off. Think, are they flirting with me? Is this something there's some other interest here? Are they just friendly? Or C, don't worry about it. These are just people who are very physical. This is a more difficult one, I tell you what. A, B, or C? You choose. No. This is a difficult one because I think generally it would have been, don't think too much about it. Good, thank you, Alexis. Okay, as a Spanish person, yeah. Thank you, Alexis. Absolutely, this is a very, very good answer because it is absolutely true. For a long time in Spain, it was acceptable for people to invade your personal space. But today, in today's world, it is not acceptable if you don't want it, okay? So you have every right to say, excuse me, we can speak, but not that close, right? Yeah, absolutely. So this is an old question from a different time, but these questions were written by Laura, okay? And Laura is an activist for women's rights and for all gender rights and gender issues. So it's interesting that she's left this question in, okay? All right, there you go. So if you answered C to most things, it means you are a real Spaniard, okay? You are a real Spaniard. And if you're mostly A, it says you are a guiri, okay? Which is a Spanish slang word for a foreign person who's here on holiday, a guiri. It's not really, it's not an insulting word. It's a bit despective. Lots of people call me, you guiri, they say, friends, family, okay? Call me a guiri. I've been here for 30 years, but they still think I don't really know too much about the customs. Okay, there we are. Anyway, just a bit of fun, not so important. But it is important to listen and learn and watch, okay? And see what's going on around you. Excellent. That's it. So we'll leave this. We'll leave this for the moment. Is there? I mean, I know you will all be arriving in the next couple of weeks. And the next part, obviously, is I will be speaking to you and your placements as you arrive. I will be making some appointments for you to get a special police certificate here in Spain, and I will be in contact with you constantly. And then we will meet. Once everybody is here, we will make a date to meet in the month of October, and so that we can discuss how things have been going. But meanwhile, anything you need, please let me know. Any doubts you have, okay? Okay, are there any questions? Yes, I have 2 more videos, yesterday's and today's, to upload, all right? The reason I stopped whilst we were watching the YouTube movie is that on these videos, we cannot include any material from copyright sources. So no movies or songs or music, because YouTube would not upload it for us. Okay, so they will be, I will put those up this evening or tomorrow. Good, excellent. Well, have a lovely weekend, everybody. Thank you particularly for Sarah. Thank you for coming along to say hello. I don't know if you've got any last minute advice for our volunteers.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot for having me. It was super interesting for me to listen, and it sounded like a lot of really valuable advice. I've actually started to feel almost a little envious of all of you starting your volunteer service in Spain now, just for you, because I think I haven't talked with you, the volunteers, about it yet. I also lived in Spain for some time, so yeah, I might be able to also share some of those experience, or if you have some questions and want to have a little chat in German, I'm also really happy to listen and to talk. And otherwise, I can only really support what you were saying about being open, connecting to the openness of the people, but also if you're rather like a calm person or introverted, be yourself, and yeah, people, you'll find welcoming and kind people. And yeah, I wish you good preparations, and yeah, you can always get in touch with me as well whenever you feel like it. And yeah, thanks a lot also, Josh, for this program, for this orientation sessions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming. Okay, and thank you to you all. It's been, you know, 2 hours every day, so it might have been quite long. Hopefully, I will start asking you as you arrive for ideas of where you would like to, or what you would like to do when we do meet face to face. Originally, we were thinking of meeting in Madrid, which is always a good place. Let's see how things go. That might be our first choice. Okay. Lovely. Well, thanks very much. Have a lovely weekend. I disappeared. I don't know why, because of my background. But anyway, we'll see you soon. All right. All of you have a brilliant weekend. Oh, Sarah, anything you want to say?
Yes, can we do it after the meeting?
Absolutely. So I will stick around with Sarah here. Okay. And the rest of you are free to go. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Bye.
Okay. Thanks. I'm going to stop recording now.
Bye.